Asterisk, asterisk. There are nights when Earth holds a quiet kind of magic, and the northern lights become the softest whisper the universe sends down to us. In this video, you will drift through the gentle secrets of this dreamlike phenomenon. These ribbons of light that know how to dance, how to breathe, how to tell stories through the heartbeat of the sky. I promise you a journey that is part science, part meditation, where every fact flows like wind, where every piece of knowledge feels as soft as the green and violet silk curling across the night. If you love beauty, if you seek peace, gently tap like and subscribe as a small message to the universe saying, I am ready to open my heart. And now, as the lights begin to soften, have you ever wondered why the winds of Neptune can move faster than the speed of sound? Asterisk, 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 asterisk. There is a quiet wonder that comes over the mind when we begin to contemplate the movements of our planets. A kind of cosmic breathing that feels both ancient and endlessly new. And perhaps that is why relaxing space facts have such a unique effect on us. They slow our heartbeat. They soften our thoughts. They remind us that the universe is not a place of rushing, but a place of unfolding. When we turn our gaze toward Neptune, we find a world wrapped in sapphire storms, a planet so far from the sun that light itself needs more than 4 hours to reach it. Yet inside this frozen distance, Neptune carries one of the wildest truths in our solar system. Its winds race faster than the speed of sound, tearing across its atmosphere with a force the human mind struggles to imagine. The astrophysicist Dr. Heidi Hammel once said, Neptune reminds us that distance does not mean stillness, even in the coldest corners of the cosmos. There is motion we cannot tame. And I often think about that, because it tells us something deeply human. Even the quietest souls may hold storms no one sees. Even the ones who stand at the edge of things may carry the greatest intensity inside. If we drift from Neptune toward Mars, the universe reveals another kind of monument. Valles Marineris. A canyon so vast that it stretches like a wound carved across an entire world. It is long enough to span a continent on Earth, deep enough to swallow the highest peaks of many nations. Carl Sagan once whispered in his soft, reflective tone, Mars is a place where nature dreams in extremes. And indeed, standing at the edge of that canyon would feel like standing at the edge of time itself. What fascinates me most is not just the scale, but the silence. The canyon has been waiting for billions of years, with no footsteps, no echoes, no fragile human breath to disturb its ancient sleep. It reminds me of the power of patience, the way reality shapes itself slowly, layer by layer. And then, when we glide toward Venus, we discover a world wrapped in clouds so thick and toxic that sunlight barely touches the ground. Yet the strangest truth is not the heat, nor the pressure, nor the eternal storms. It is the absence of a magnetic field, a missing shield, a vulnerability that seems almost poetic. The planetary scientist Dr. David Grinspoon once said, "Venus is a mirror held up to Earth, and it warns us of what can happen when balance is lost." Without a magnetic field, Venus cannot protect its atmosphere the way Earth can. And as the solar wind strips away its upper layers, we are reminded how precious our own invisible shield is. There is a lesson here that settles softly into the heart. Even the brightest worlds need protection. And even the strongest of us must learn how to safeguard our inner sky. Move outward again, deeper into the cold, toward Uranus and Neptune, and you find one of the universe's most enchanting whispers. Rain made not of water, but of diamonds. Under crushing pressure, carbon atoms fall apart, reorganize, and crystallize into diamond droplets that sink like shimmering stones into the deep blue darkness. The physicist Dominic Krauss described it simply: deep inside these planets, it rains gemstones. To know that diamonds fall like raindrops on distant worlds feels strangely comforting, as if the universe scatters beauty in places no one may ever see, reminding us that value does not require an audience, that brilliance can exist quietly. And then, in this drifting cosmic meditation, we return home for a moment to Earth, where something truly rare unfolds beneath our feet. Plate tectonics, the slow drifting of continents, the breathing of the crust, a phenomenon that shapes mountains, oceans, climates, and even life itself. Earth is the only known planet where this happens. A world that moves, splits, collides, and heals its own surface. As geologist Dr. Tanya Atwater once said, "The Earth is alive, and it shows its pulse in the motion of its plates." Hearing that, I often feel a sense of kinship with our planet. It reminds me that change is natural, that rebuilding is part of being alive, that even the most dramatic shifts can create new landscapes, new possibilities. And as we drift farther from Earth, our path crosses something unexpectedly gentle. The small silent worlds called asteroids. Yet some of them carry a surprise. They have moons of their own. Imagine something only a few kilometers wide, holding a companion in its gravity, circling each other slowly in the dark. It is a reminder that connection can exist at any scale. Even the smallest among us may carry companions. Even the loneliest shapes can form gentle orbits with another soul. Astronomer William Hartmann once remarked, "Binary asteroids are the solar system's quiet partnerships." And I have always loved that phrase, because it mirrors our own truth. Relationships need not be grand to be meaningful. Finally, as we glide inward again, our attention turns to Mercury, a world scorched by daylight, frozen by night, and wrapped not in a true atmosphere but in something far more fragile, an exosphere. This ghost-like layer, so thin that a single breath of air on Earth contains more atoms than a whole cubic meter around Mercury, floats like a veil made of dust, solar radiation, and scattered particles from the surface. It barely clings to the planet, constantly being created, constantly being lost. To me, Mercury's exosphere is one of the most poetic features in the entire solar system. A reminder that even the most fragile things can endure when they learn how to let go. Astrophysicist Sean Solomon once said, "Mercury teaches us that not every world holds on tightly. Some survive by releasing what cannot stay." And perhaps that is a lesson we can all carry. The art of knowing what must be held and what must be allowed to drift away. As I reflect on all these worlds, on winds that outrun sound, on canyons larger than nations, on storms that rain diamonds, on plates that move continents, on tiny asteroids with loyal moons, and on Mercury's delicate exosphere, a quiet truth rises within me. The universe is vast, but every world tells a story we can recognize. Strength hidden inside stillness, beauty growing in pressure, resilience shaped by time, companionship found in unlikely places, and the courage to release what weighs us down. These relaxing space facts do more than teach us science. They teach us how to breathe, how to slow down, how to see ourselves reflected in planets we will never touch. And as we continue drifting through this great cosmic ocean, may we remember that knowledge is not only a light for the mind, it is a soft place for the heart to rest. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. There is a certain softness that rises in the heart when we turn our attention toward the sun, not as a burning sphere of plasma, but as a kind of ancient companion, a luminous presence that has been watching over the solar system for more than 4.5 billion years. And when we explore these truths slowly, gently, they become more than facts. They become a solar system sleep aid for the soul, easing the weight on our thoughts, guiding us into a deeper kind of calm. The first truth is one that astonishes even seasoned astronomers. The sun loses more than 4 million tons of mass every second. Every heartbeat of the universe, every breath we take, every moment of quiet reflection, somewhere in that rhythm, 4 million tons of solar material transform into pure energy and fly outward across the void. Albert Einstein once said, "The sun is the most generous star we know. It spends itself so that others may live." When I think about that, I feel a subtle shift inside. There is something profoundly humbling in the idea that our daylight is made from the sacrifice of mass, that our warmth comes from the sun giving away parts of itself endlessly. It reminds me that giving does not always mean depletion. Sometimes the act of offering becomes the act of shining. And if we drift a little closer, letting our attention settle softly upon the outer layers of the sun, we discover one of its most paradoxical features: the corona. This halo of shimmering plasma, stretching millions of kilometers into space, is somehow hotter than the surface beneath it. A mystery that has puzzled astronomers for decades. Astrophysicist Eugene Parker once whispered in a lecture, "The corona is the sun's poetry. It refuses to obey logic, and yet it shines." And maybe that is why I find this truth so comforting. It tells us that not everything bright must make sense, that sometimes our glow appears in places no one expected. As we drift deeper into this meditation, we begin to sense another secret. The sun sings. Not with sound, not with melody as we know it, but with vibrations that echo through its entire body. Ripples of pressure, oscillations that rise and fall like a breath. Solar physicist Dr. Alexei Kosovichev once said, "If you could hear the sun, it would sound like a giant beating heart." And when I imagine that, a star breathing in slow waves, its rhythm steady, ancient, unwavering, I feel something in me align with it, as if the universe is reminding us that everything living or luminous has a pulse. But the sun does not simply vibrate. It cycles. It transforms. Every 11 years, the sun flips its magnetic field. North becomes south. South becomes north. And all the charged particles and magnetic threads woven through its atmosphere reconfigure themselves in a cosmic dance that spans the entire solar system. Dr. Lisa Upton described it as the heartbeat of solar weather, a reminder that even a star must renew itself. And there is wisdom in this too, because change is not chaos. It is the restructuring of energy, the resetting of equilibrium. I think sometimes we fear our own cycles, but the sun shows us that periodic transformation is necessary, even divine. As we drift outward slightly, feeling the warmth soften in our imagination, another truth unfolds gently before us. The sun contains 99.8% of all the mass in the solar system. Every planet, moon, asteroid, and comet, combined, cannot match the weight of the star that anchors them. Neil deGrasse Tyson once said, "We orbit the sun not because we choose to, but because its mass writes the rules." Hearing that, I am reminded that gravity is not force alone. It is commitment. The sun holds the planets not by demand, but by simply being massive enough to keep them close. It teaches us that presence has power, that the way we exist can influence everything around us. And beneath all this, deeper than any visible light, lies the core. A furnace surpassing 15 million degrees Celsius, where hydrogen atoms fuse into helium, releasing unimaginable energy. It is humbling to imagine that every sunrise, every golden afternoon, every warm memory is born from a fusion process happening trillions of times each second. As Nobel Prize winner Hans Bethe once said, "The stars are powered by the simplest idea imaginable, that small things become greater together." There is a life lesson quietly woven into that. Unity creates radiance. Even fragile fragments, when joined with purpose, can illuminate worlds. And finally, in this long, slow drift through solar truth, we arrive at one of the most poetic facts of all: that sunlight takes 8 minutes to reach Earth. To think that the warmth touching your skin on a quiet morning began its journey across space minutes before, traveling at the fastest speed allowed by the universe, weaving through the dark until it found you, feels almost like a love letter from the sun. Carl Sagan once reflected, "We live by the light of a star, and every photon is an ancient traveler." And when I let that thought settle, I feel the world slow down. I feel the quiet truth that we are held in a delicate balance, warmed by a star we will never reach, guided by cycles we cannot control, and illuminated by light that began long before we asked for it. So as we reflect on all of these wonders, on the sun losing millions of tons each second, on the corona glowing impossibly hot, on the songs rippling through its surface, on the magnetic fields flipping in their cosmic rhythm, on the mass holding the solar system in place, on the core burning brighter than imagination, on the sunlight that travels across the void to reach us. A soft understanding unfolds inside the quiet spaces of the mind. The sun teaches us generosity, renewal, patience, endurance, and the endless beauty of cycles. It teaches us that energy moves, transforms, and returns, and that every moment of our lives is shaped by a star that asks for nothing in return. These are not merely solar facts. They are meditations, reminders, soft invitations to breathe more slowly, to feel more deeply, to rest in the quiet certainty that we are part of something vast and luminous, something that continues whether or not we understand it. And as we float in this awareness, it becomes clear why so many seek comfort in the cosmos. Why these truths work as a solar system sleep aid, soothing the mind like a warm tide, calming the heart like a distant sunrise. May this knowledge be a light you can return to, again and again, whenever the world feels heavy. For the sun never stops shining, even when we are facing the night. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. Saturn has always felt like a dream whispered into existence. A place where physics becomes art, where gravity writes poetry across the darkness, and where the quiet mysteries of the universe unfold in slow drifting layers. Whenever I speak about Saturn, I feel as if I am narrating a deep space documentary guided not only by science but by something softer, something older, something that feels almost spiritual. The first truth that always lingers in my mind is that Saturn's rings are disappearing. Tiny particles of ice and dust are falling slowly into the planet, creating what scientists call ring rain. Cassini's instruments detected this delicate downpour, a shimmering curtain of charged particles sliding along magnetic field lines until they melt into Saturn's atmosphere. Dr. James O'Donoghue once reflected, "The rings are not eternal. They are a passing moment, a cosmic gift that we happen to witness during our lifetime." When I heard that for the first time, I felt something tighten gently inside my chest. It is a reminder that beauty is often temporary, that even the grandest things in the universe shimmer for only a moment and then drift away. And perhaps that makes them even more precious. If we float a little closer, guided by a quiet sense of wonder, we notice a detail that feels almost impossible. The rings are astonishingly thin, only about 100 meters thick, thinner than the clouds that drift over our own world, yet stretching more than 200,000 kilometers wide. Carl Sagan once said, "Saturn's rings are like a cosmic lesson in elegance, immense in reach, yet fragile in structure." And when I think about that, I realize how deeply this mirrors our own lives. Sometimes the things that appear vast, overwhelming, limitless from afar, are built from the thinnest of layers. Sometimes strength is not thickness, but balance. And the rings themselves, those luminous bands we have admired since Galileo first saw them, are made of ice and stone. Tiny fragments, some as small as grains of sand, others as large as mountains, all orbiting together in a harmony too soft to hear, yet too vast to ignore. The planetary scientist Dr. Carolyn Porco once said, "Saturn's rings are the most ethereal structure ever observed, a cathedral of ice in the dark." Sometimes when I look at images from Cassini, I imagine the rings as a frozen symphony, each particle a note, each orbit a rhythm, and all of it held together by nothing but gravity. But Saturn's mysteries do not end with its rings. For at its north pole lies one of the strangest structures in the cosmos. A massive hexagon. A storm carved into a six-sided shape, rotating endlessly. No one truly knows why it is a hexagon, a shape so perfect, so deliberate, it appears almost designed. Dr. Andrew Ingersoll from the Cassini team once said, "The hexagon is Saturn, reminding us that nature has geometry hidden in its breath." And perhaps that is true. For the universe often hides order within chaos, patterns within motion, meaning within mystery. As we glide deeper into Saturn's realm, we discover something even more startling. Some of Saturn's tiny moons may have been born from the rings themselves. Imagine that. Small, icy bodies gathering slowly, gently, drawn together by gravity, sculpted into form by time. These little moons, Pan, Daphnis, Atlas, move like guardians, shaping gaps, creating edges, and whispering the history of the rings through their orbits. It feels like watching planets learn how to be planets, watching creation unfold in slow motion. Dr. Bonnie Baratti said about these moons, "They are the apprentices of the solar system, sculpted by the same forces that once shaped the Earth and its siblings." When I reflect on this, I realize that formation is never truly finished. Even on the cosmic scale, everything is still learning, evolving, shifting, and maybe so are we. And as we look beyond Saturn, beyond its shimmering halos, beyond the moons that orbit like quiet poets, we begin to notice another truth. Rings themselves may be temporary everywhere. Jupiter has faint, dusty rings. Uranus has narrow, shadow-like arcs. Neptune carries subtle traces of drifting particles. But all of them appear fragile, easily scattered, vulnerable to time. The astrophysicist Dr. Mark Showalter once said, "Ring systems are not monuments, they are moments." And that thought stays with me, lingering like the glow of starlight just after moonrise. It makes me wonder how many celestial wonders have bloomed and faded long before any eye ever saw them. How many cosmic masterpieces existed only for a breath in the timeline of the universe. And as I drift through these thoughts, through Saturn's fading rings, through the whispers of newborn moons, through the hexagon spinning like an ancient symbol, through the dust and ice that paint arcs across the void, I begin to sense an unexpected lesson rising gently through the silence. The universe is not built from permanence, but from cycles, from appearances, from vanishings. Saturn teaches us that beauty can be breathtakingly thin, astonishingly temporary, and yet still powerful enough to stir awe across generations. And perhaps this is what makes Saturn one of the most captivating subjects for any deep space documentary. Not simply because of its structure, but because of what it reflects back to us. When I look at Saturn, I see a reminder that not everything lasting must be eternal. That meaning can exist in the briefness of things. That even a fragile ring of ice can reshape our understanding of the cosmos. I think of how the rings will one day vanish, falling softly into the planet they once crowned. And I realize that endings are not always tragedies. Sometimes they are simply transformations. We are all like Saturn's rings in our own way, made of fragments, held together by invisible forces, constantly circling the things we love, constantly learning how to remain luminous despite the pull of time. And so, as we drift away from Saturn, letting its pale golden glow fade behind us, letting the rings dissolve softly into distance, a gentle awareness settles in the mind. The universe is full of fleeting wonders, but their impermanence does not diminish their beauty. If anything, it deepens it. May Saturn always remind us that even the most delicate things can shine across the darkness. Even thin ribbons of ice can become legends. And even temporary wonders can change us forever. Asterisk, asterisk. There are places in our solar system where silence becomes an ocean, where darkness becomes a cradle, and where the moons of distant giants whisper stories far older than any memory we hold. Whenever I speak about these worlds, I feel as though I am drifting through a calming astronomy video brought to life. My voice slowing, softening, aligning itself with the quiet pulse of the cosmos. Europa is often the first moon that rises gently in my thoughts. A world wrapped in ice, its surface etched with cracks like the fragile lines on a window touched by winter. Beneath that frozen skin, scientists believe an ocean deeper than any found on Earth is waiting. An entire sea hidden from starlight, warmed by tidal forces that stretch and squeeze the moon as it orbits Jupiter. Dr. Robert Pappalardo once said, "If life exists anywhere beyond Earth, Europa is our best hope." And when I close my eyes and imagine that ocean, warmed from below, roofed by ice, lit only by chemical reactions and the slow drift of minerals, I feel a kind of trembling peace. The realization that the universe may hold life not in the fiery light of stars, but in the quiet, hidden places. Not far from Europa, in cosmic terms, another moon tells a story of fire instead of water. Io, the most volcanic world in the solar system, a place where the ground constantly reshapes itself, where lava fountains reach higher than any eruption Earth has ever known. Dr. Ashley Davies from NASA once described Io by saying, "It is a world that never rests, a world forever becoming." There is something beautiful in that, something urgent. Io reminds us that creation often comes from chaos, that the landscapes of our lives are sometimes reshaped by heat, pressure, and upheaval. And yet, out of that molten intensity, new surfaces emerge, new colors, new possibilities. If Io is fire and Europa is water, then Ganymede is something entirely different. It is the largest moon in the solar system, even bigger than Mercury. And unlike any other moon we know, Ganymede carries its own magnetic field. To possess a magnetic field is to possess a heartbeat, a shield, a signature of internal movement. It means its interior is alive, churning, evolving. Dr. Margaret Kivelson, who led the team that discovered Ganymede's magnetosphere, once said, "Ganymede behaves less like a moon and more like a small planet with secrets of its own." And I find that deeply inspiring, because it reminds us that even something that seems secondary, something orbiting another body, can have its own power, its own gravity, its own voice. Then there is Callisto, an ancient world, older than any surface on Earth. Its crust carries the scars of countless impacts, the memories of billions of years. And beneath that battered exterior, scientists suspect another hidden ocean, a realm untouched by light, untouched by time. The geophysicist Torrance Johnson once said, "Callisto is a library written in craters, a place where the early solar system is preserved like a fossil in ice." When I reflect on Callisto, I see the beauty of endurance, a reminder that age does not diminish worth, that scars can become stories, and that the quietest worlds often hold the deepest wisdom. As we drift outward into the kingdom of Neptune, we meet Triton, a moon unlike any other. It orbits in the wrong direction, a retrograde path that reveals it did not form where it is. Neptune captured it long ago, pulling it into a gravitational embrace it could never escape. Dr. William McKinnon once described Triton with a simple, haunting truth. Triton is a lost world, adopted by a giant. That idea has always moved me. The thought of a moon wandering too close to a giant planet, becoming part of a system it was never meant to join. It feels like a cosmic metaphor for how lives can change direction because of a single powerful encounter. Yet, Triton remains stable, remains cold, remains magnificent. A quiet testament to the strength of adaptation. Then there is Titan, Saturn's golden moon, wrapped in a dense orange atmosphere. The only moon in the solar system with lakes and rivers flowing across its surface. But its liquid is not water, it is methane. Rain falls in golden drops. Lakes fill and evaporate, and vast dunes stretch across its horizon. Carl Sagan, who spoke of Titan with a soft kind of love, once said, "If you want to see an Earth of the past or the Earth of a different cosmic imagination, look to Titan." And when I consider Titan's chemistry, its seasons, its storms, I am reminded that life does not need to resemble us to be profound, that worlds can follow different rules and still feel holy in their own way. And finally, there is Enceladus, a moon so small it could fit comfortably within many countries on Earth. Yet it holds one of the greatest surprises in the solar system. Geysers that shoot water into space. These plumes rise hundreds of kilometers above the surface, scattering ice particles that form one of Saturn's rings. Beneath its icy crust, there is almost certainly a global ocean, warmed by hydrothermal vents that could sustain life the way Earth's deep oceans do. Dr. Caroline Porco, who led the Cassini imaging team, said, "Enceladus is a world that calls out to us. It wants to be explored. It wants to be understood." And I feel that too. A gentle pull, a sense that these moons are not just objects in the dark, but teachers, messengers. When I look at Europa's quiet ocean, Io's volcanic fury, Ganymede's magnetic pulse, Callisto's ancient scars, Triton's backward path, Titan's methane rain, and Enceladus's rising fountains, I feel as though each moon is offering a different lesson. Europa teaches us that life may flourish in hidden places. Io teaches us that creation is sometimes fiery and painful. Ganymede teaches us that identity can exist even when we orbit something greater. Callisto teaches us that age is not a weakness. Triton teaches us that being captured does not mean being lost. Titan teaches us that beauty can take unfamiliar forms. And Enceladus teaches us that even the smallest worlds can hold oceans of possibility. As I reflect on all these truths, drifting through them as though floating across a cosmic lake at night, I begin to understand why exploring these moons feels so calming. They slow the mind. They open the heart. They turn science into a quiet meditation. And perhaps that is the deepest reason why we return to them again and again. In images, in theories, in dreams. They remind us that the universe is not empty. It is full of hidden oceans, full of secret fires, full of stories still unfolding. And when the night feels heavy, when the world feels too sharp, too loud, perhaps these moons can offer us what we need most. A place to rest our thoughts, a place to breathe, a place to remember that we too are part of something vast and mysterious, something still becoming, something still alive with possibility. Asterisk, asterisk, There are moments when the universe feels like a book written in storms. Mountains, fire, and silence. And as we drift through these truths slowly, gently, they become universe facts to fall asleep to. Soft lanterns glowing in the dark corners of our thoughts. Mars is often the first world that rises in this quiet meditation. A small red planet where storms can cover everything. Global dust storms swirl across its deserts, wrapping the planet in a copper haze that hides valleys, plains, and ancient riverbeds. These storms can last for weeks, even months. Dr. Bruce Jakosky once said, "When Mars chooses to breathe, it breathes dust." I have always found something deeply poetic in that. The idea that a planet speaks through storms, that its atmosphere expresses memory through motion. It reminds me that even desolate places have their own rhythms, their own seasons of change. Not far from those storms, beyond dunes of iron and shadows of ancient deltas, rises Olympus Mons, the tallest volcano known in the solar system. So vast that it covers an area the size of a small country. So tall that if you stood at its summit, the horizon would curve away beneath your feet. Carl Sagan said, "Olympus Mons is nature showing us what patience can build." When I imagine that enormous shield volcano, built from eruptions that lasted millions of years, I think about the long, slow work of transformation. How even a mountain is not a moment, but a process. A layering of small shifts that eventually rise into greatness. As we drift across space, letting the red glow of Mars soften behind us, we encounter a planet that overturns everything we expect. Venus. A world where reality bends in ways that feel almost mythic. Venus spins backward, its rotation so slow that a single day lasts longer than an entire year. Dr. Sarah Hurst once remarked, "Venus moves to a rhythm that belongs only to itself." And that simple truth has always moved me. It is a reminder that we do not all turn the same way. That time unfolds differently depending on where you stand. But Venus has another secret. It is hotter than Mercury, even though it lies farther from the Sun. This is because Venus carries an atmosphere so thick that heat becomes a prisoner, trapped beneath its clouds for centuries. Its temperatures soar above 800 degrees. Dr. Carl Sagan once said of Venus, "It is the runaway greenhouse, a cautionary tale written across a planet." And when I reflect on that, I feel a quiet weight settle in my chest. Venus teaches us that the balance of a world is delicate, that climate is a fragile thread, and when it snaps, the consequences are not gentle. But from Venus, if we drift outward into the realm of giants, we meet Jupiter. A world of storms so vast they could swallow Earth whole without noticing. the Great Red Spot, a titanic storm that has raged for at least 3 centuries, rotates like a crimson eye staring across the void. Dr. Lee Fletcher once said, "The Great Red Spot is a storm that remembers." And perhaps that is why it fascinates me. It is a reminder that some storms last longer than lifetimes, that some struggles are inherited, yet still the storm continues, reshaping itself, enduring against time. Jupiter holds another mystery. It emits more heat than it receives from the Sun. Deep within its interior, pressure and gravity create energy that rises outward. Dr. Tristan Guillot once stated, "Jupiter glows from within, a world lit by its own weight." I often think about that, how some beings shine not because of what they receive, but because of what they carry inside. Jupiter teaches us that inner heat, inner fire, inner strength can be a source of light. Beyond Jupiter, in the cold, far reaches of the solar system, Neptune waits. A sapphire world wrapped in winds faster than sound, and mysteries deeper than its color. Neptune too emits more heat than it gets from the Sun, a strange and elegant rebellion against distance. Dr. Heidi Hammel once said, "Even in the coldest places, the universe hides warmth." And perhaps that is one of the most soothing truths the cosmos offers. Heat is not only born from radiation, but from within. Even the loneliest world carries a spark. When I look at Mars, storms, Olympus Mons, Venus spinning backward, Venus burning hotter than logic should allow, Jupiter's ancient tempest, Jupiter's inner glow, and Neptune's hidden fire, I feel as if the universe is teaching us a pattern, a lesson whispered across planets, storms, volcanoes, and atmospheres. Nothing in the universe is truly still. Mars tells us that even barren places breathe. Olympus Mons tells us that greatness rises one quiet layer at a time. Venus tells us that not all rhythms match our own. Its heat tells us that imbalance can reshape a world. Jupiter tells us that storms can endure without breaking us. Its glow tells us that we shine from within. Neptune tells us that warmth survives even in vast cold. And when I meditate on these truths, letting them drift into me like starlight through a window at night, I feel something soften in my chest. These are not just facts. They are universe facts to fall asleep to. Warm constellations for the mind. They remind us that extremes are not always violence. Sometimes they are expressions of endurance, patience, evolution. And as we float through this cosmic meditation, through storms that last centuries, through mountains that pierce the sky, through planets that rotate against expectation, and worlds that burn hotter than they should. A gentle truth settles in the heart. We too are shaped by extremes, by pressures, by heat. But like the planets, we endure. We glow. We continue. And perhaps that is what makes the universe the greatest teacher of all. Asterisk, asterisk, when we journey toward the outer edges of our solar system, the familiar warmth of the inner planets begins to fade, and the universe takes on a softer, quieter rhythm, a rhythm that feels almost oceanic. Out here, the darkness stretches like a calm cosmic sea, and the ancient worlds drifting in these waters feel so serene that exploring them becomes its own kind of sleep aid, ocean documentary. A meditation in motion. A slow unfolding of mysteries older than Earth itself. One of the first realms we encounter beyond Neptune is the Kuiper Belt. A broad, shimmering ring of icy bodies that orbit like frozen coral reefs around the Sun. These objects are remnants from the earliest days of the solar system. Untouched, unchanged, preserved in the deep cold for billions of years. Dr. Mike Brown once said, "The Kuiper Belt is our archaeological archive, the place where the solar system keeps its memories." When I contemplate that idea, I imagine each icy fragment as a page of a lost cosmic diary, drifting quietly in the dark. These worlds remind me that history does not always fade. Sometimes it simply moves farther away, waiting with patience for us to discover it. And among these distant relics lives Pluto, small, quiet, orbiting with a rhythm that defies the neat patterns of the inner planets. Every so often, Pluto moves closer to the Sun than Neptune, slipping inside its orbit with a gentle cosmic confidence. Dr. Alan Stern, principal investigator of the New Horizons mission, once said, "Pluto is not an outcast. It is a masterpiece carved at the edge of the solar system." And I deeply feel the truth of that. Because Pluto behaves like a poet, unafraid to move differently, unafraid to rewrite expectations. It shows us that distance does not diminish character, that even a tiny world at the edge can carry immense presence. Pluto has another quiet wonder. It grows a thin atmosphere when it comes closer to the Sun, and then loses it when it travels away. Imagine an atmosphere that appears like a sigh, then dissolves into space like a whisper. Dr. Leslie Young once described Pluto's atmosphere by saying, "It is like a breath that knows when to arrive and when to let go." I have always found that image profoundly moving. It teaches us that not everything constant is strong, and not everything temporary is weak. Sometimes beauty lies in cycles, in the coming and going, in the soft rhythm of appearing and disappearing. But if we drift even farther outward, beyond Pluto, beyond the Kuiper belt, beyond the faintest traces of sunlight, we reach a place so vast and so silent that imagination itself must stretch to meet it. The Oort cloud, this sphere of icy bodies, stretching almost a full light year from the sun, is our solar system's outermost sanctuary, a cosmic shell, a boundary woven from frozen worlds that no spacecraft has ever reached. Jan Oort, the astronomer who first proposed its existence, once said, "At the farthest edges of the sun's influence lies a cloud of ancient wanderers, the birthplace of comets." And, indeed, some comets take hundreds of thousands of years to complete their orbits. They drift through the dark for ages, then suddenly return, blazing across the inner solar system like luminous messengers. These long-period comets feel like memories surfacing from a deep subconscious ocean, carrying stories from the universe's earliest days. I sometimes imagine them as cosmic pilgrims, traveling in silence, observing the slow pulse of time. And then, beyond even the Oort cloud, our solar system continues to move, sailing through the galaxy the way a ship sails across a boundless sea. Right now, we are passing through the local interstellar cloud, a diffuse region of gas and dust that surrounds our system like a soft cosmic fog. Dr. Seth Redfield once said, "The sun is not stationary. It is a voyager drifting through interstellar weather." And when I think of that, of our entire solar system quietly gliding through the galaxy, I feel a sensation almost like floating on open water. A calmness, a reminder that motion does not have to be rushed, that travel does not always require direction. Sometimes it is enough simply to drift. The more I reflect on these distant realms, the more I see them as teachers. The Kuiper belt teaches us the value of memory, the importance of preserving what came before. Pluto teaches us the courage to move differently. Its vanishing atmosphere teaches us grace in letting go. The Oort cloud teaches us that boundaries can be vast, soft, and still meaningful. Long-period comets teach us that some journeys are measured not in years, but in ages. The local interstellar cloud teaches us that even entire solar systems are wanderers. When I breathe with these truths, letting them settle like gentle waves inside the mind, I begin to understand why the outer solar system feels so soothing. It is not chaotic out here. It is patient, unhurried. It holds a tranquility that is almost ocean-like, a quiet reminder that the universe is not only made of fire and storms, but also of drifting ice, soft boundaries, and slow endless motion. If the inner planets are the heartbeat of our cosmic home, then the outer regions are its breath. Slow, deep, steady. And perhaps that is why these distant realms feel like the perfect landscape for a sleep aid ocean documentary. A place where even the coldest objects glow with the warmth of meaning. As I drift through these thoughts, imagining the Oort cloud's icy shells, the Kuiper belt's ancient fragments, and Pluto breathing in and out across millions of years, a gentle truth rises inside me. The universe is not only vast, it is peaceful. Not only mysterious, but compassionate in its own quiet way. Not only filled with extremes, but balanced by calm. And as our solar system continues its journey through the galaxy, carrying all its moons, all its storms, all its oceans, seen and unseen, I am reminded that we too are travelers, drifting through our own seasons, breathing through our own cycles. Just like Pluto's atmosphere, we appear, we change, we disappear, and we return. Just like the comets, we shine brightest when we are closest to warmth. And just like the Kuiper belt, parts of us remain untouched, preserved, waiting patiently for the right moment to be understood. May these distant regions remind us that drifting is not the same as being lost, and that even in the farthest, coldest places, there is meaning, there is motion, there is life in potential. And may they offer you a calm, gentle place to rest your thoughts tonight, the way a quiet cosmic ocean holds its waves. Asterisk, asterisk. When we drift into the quiet realm of orbits and gravity, it feels as if the universe is revealing one of its softest lullabies. A gentle rhythm that belongs in every relaxing astronomy documentary and every whisper meant for Milky Way explained for sleep. These are not loud truths. They are truths that flow slowly. Truths you can fall asleep to. The first truth that always settles gently in the mind is that the planets do not travel in perfect circles. They move in ellipses, stretched slightly like the breath of a sleeping giant. Johannes Kepler once said, "The orbit of every planet is a poem written in ellipses." And when I reflect on that, I imagine each planet gliding in a soft oval path, never harsh, never mechanical, but flowing like slow tidal waves in the dark. It reminds me that paths in life are rarely perfect circles. They are stretched, uneven, shaped by what pulls us and what we move toward. And sometimes, people wonder whether planets lining up can bring disaster. Yet NASA Science for Sleep often explains that alignment is simply geometry, not destiny. When planets appear in a row, the forces they exert on us are still tiny. As astrophysicist Dr. Jeffrey Landis said, "Planetary alignment is visually beautiful but physically gentle." There is something soothing in that realization. Beauty does not always require danger. Sometimes it simply asks us to look up. And then, almost like a quiet surprise, Uranus enters the story. A world tilted so extremely that it seems to roll around the sun. Its axis leans at nearly 98 degrees, transforming seasons into long, dreamlike nights and equally long sunlit days. Dr. Heidi Hammel once said, "Uranus is the solar system's reminder that normal is only a matter of perspective." And that truth settles into me every time I imagine its sideways spin. Because life too sometimes turns in unexpected ways. Far closer to the sun, Mercury reveals something astonishing. For decades, its orbit puzzled astronomers, shifting slightly in a way Newton's laws could not fully explain. Then Einstein arrived, and with his theory of general relativity, he showed that Mercury was tracing the curves of space itself. Einstein once wrote, "To understand Mercury is to understand gravity's deepest whisper." I often think about that whisper, how the smallest shifts can rewrite our understanding of the universe. Mercury reminds us that sometimes the smallest things in our lives announce the biggest truths. And while Mercury teaches us about relativity, our own moon teaches us about connection. It pulls on Earth's oceans, creating tides that rise and fall like the breathing of the planet. Neil deGrasse Tyson once said, "The tides are Earth's heartbeat, shaped by the moon." And when I watch the waves unfold, I feel that truth deeply. But the moon is drifting away, slowly, about 3.8 centimeters each year. A distance so tiny that you would never feel it, yet so steady that over millions of years, the moon will no longer appear the same size in our sky. This drift feels almost poetic to me. A reminder that even the closest relationships evolve. Gently, inevitably, farther into the dark, where the sun becomes only a bright star among countless others. Some astronomers believe a hidden world may still wait. Planet 9. A giant body influencing the orbits of distant icy objects in subtle, mysterious ways. Dr. Konstantin Batygin said, "If Planet 9 exists, it will rewrite our understanding of the solar system's architecture." Sometimes I find comfort in that possibility, that even now, even with spacecraft orbiting Mars and probes drifting past Jupiter, the solar system still holds surprises. And maybe that means our lives also still hold unseen paths, waiting quietly at the edges. As we drift deeper into this meditation, it becomes clear that everything in the cosmos is shaped by forces we rarely notice. Gravity pulls, orbits bend, motions curve like brushstrokes across the galaxy. When I think of the Milky Way itself, spiraling in serene, slow motion, I hear the soft echo of Milky Way explained for sleep, a phrase that feels like lying beneath the stars with your eyes half closed. Letting the universe rest on your chest like a lullaby. Gravity is not loud. It is persistent. It shapes worlds, holds moons in place, guides comets on million-year journeys. It is the quietest force, and yet the most faithful. Dr. Kip Thorne once said, "Gravity is the music of space-time." And when I imagine planets moving in ellipses, moons drifting outward, distant objects pulled by unseen influences, I begin to understand why that music feels so calming. These are space facts for bedtime. Truths soft enough to fall asleep with. Mercury whispering relativity. The moon pulling tides like a gentle hand. Uranus rolling in a sideways dream. Planets aligning without threat. Orbits stretching into ellipses like slow breaths. A possible ninth world hiding in the dark. Each truth feels like a lantern in the night. Something bright but not blinding. And when all these details drift together, they form a larger lesson. The universe is not chaotic. It is choreographed. Not rushed, but paced. Not violent, but balanced. Everything moves according to forces that are both invisible and deeply patient. Sometimes in life we want perfect circles, perfect paths, perfect timing. But the universe teaches us that ellipses are just as beautiful, that drifting does not mean disorder, that distance does not break connection, that even the moon can move away and still shape the tides. And so, as you let these thoughts soften your breathing, as you float through this relaxing astronomy documentary woven from whispers of gravity and light, may you feel the gentle truth hidden behind every orbit. You do not need a perfect circle to move with grace. You only need motion, a pull, a reason to continue. And like the planets, you already have that. Asterisk, asterisk. When we speak about leaving the solar system, the words themselves feel almost unreal, as if they belong to a dream rather than to engineering. For most of human history, the stars were not destinations. They were stories. And yet, one small spacecraft changed everything. Voyager, a machine no heavier than a small car, slipped free of Earth's embrace and began a journey so slow, so steady, so impossibly patient that it still continues today. It has been traveling for decades, pushed not by any engine, but by the simple truth that once you begin moving in space, inertia carries you forward. Dr. Ed Stone, the legendary Voyager project scientist, once said, "Voyager is humanity's message in a bottle, cast into the cosmic ocean. And when I think of that, I imagine Voyager as a tiny glowing dot, drifting through the dark like a lantern carried by the universe's slow breath. These are the kinds of space facts for bedtime that settle softly into the heart. On board Voyager is something even more poetic. The Golden Record. A copper phonograph disc coated in gold, carrying languages, greetings, coordinates, natural sounds, heartbeats, laughter, and music. Carl Sagan, who curated the record, said, "The Golden Record is a bottle into the cosmic ocean, but it is also a reflection of who we hoped we were." That line has always stayed with me, because the Golden Record is not a scientific instrument. It is a gesture, a soft wave into the dark, a quiet declaration that even in a vast universe we choose connection. As Voyager drifts outward, it passes through the invisible frontier of the heliosphere, a giant magnetic bubble created by the Sun, wrapping our solar system in a protective breath of charged particles. NASA scientists sometimes call it the Sun's cocoon, an elegant boundary that shields us from a harsher cosmic environment. Dr. Merav Ofer once described the heliosphere as the womb of the solar system, the place where our star protects all its children. And truly, when I imagine the heliosphere, I visualize a shimmering bubble drifting through the galaxy, carrying the planets like soft glowing pearls inside it. But at the very edge of this bubble lies a border where the Sun's influence weakens, the heliopause. This is where interstellar space begins, where the particles from other stars finally outweigh the particles from our own. When Voyager crossed this threshold, it became the first human-made object to touch the interstellar sea. Dr. Stamatios Krimigis, one of the leaders of the Voyager instruments, said, "The heliopause is not an ending, it is a beginning." And when I reflect on that, I feel a quiet warmth rise inside me, because boundaries in life often feel like limits. Yet in the universe, boundaries are simply invitations to the next region of wonder. Beyond even this frontier, the entire solar system continues its own cosmic journey. It is not resting, not stationary. It is orbiting the Milky Way, completing one revolution every 225 million years. Dr. Jesse Christensen from NASA once said, "We are passengers on a ship that sails through the galaxy without ever stopping." And that is one of the most soothing truths from NASA science for sleep. The idea that even as we sit still, we are moving through the galaxy, drifting like a leaf on a cosmic tide. Sometimes, late at night, when I imagine the solar system's slow voyage around the Milky Way, I feel a calmness settle into me, a reminder that nothing in the universe is isolated. Everything is flowing, Everything is part of a grander journey. And the more I think about Voyager, the golden record, the heliosphere, the heliopause, and our orbit around the galaxy, the more I realize that each of these truths is a meditation in motion, a spacecraft that never stops, a message encoded in gold, a bubble of magnetic light, a border where the sun's breath ends, a galactic voyage that lasts longer than all of human history. These are more than scientific facts. They are space facts for bedtime. Soft truths designed to ease the mind into rest. They remind us that journeys take time, that escaping gravity requires patience, that messages sent into the dark can outlive us, that protection surrounds us in ways we cannot see, and that motion continues even when we feel still. And perhaps the most comforting message of all comes from Voyager itself. A small machine built by human hands, still moving, still transmitting, still searching. It whispers a lesson into the quiet. You do not need to travel quickly to go far. You do not need to be large to carry meaning. You do not need to know the destination to continue your path. You only need to move. Gently, steadily, faithfully. And just like Voyager, you will eventually cross the boundaries that once felt impossible. As you let these thoughts float through you, may they settle the mind like a soft, relaxing astronomy documentary playing in the background, a quiet companion to your breathing. And may they remind you that even in the infinite dark, you are part of a story still unfolding. Asterisk, asterisk, among all the places the solar system has crafted, there are worlds so unusual, so softly strange, so quietly miraculous, that speaking about them feels like guiding someone through a relaxing astronomy documentary meant for NASA science, for sleep. These are not the planets we memorize in school. They are the worlds that sit at the edge of imagination, where chemistry becomes poetry and physics becomes something almost mythic. The first of these dreamlike worlds is Titan, Saturn's veiled moon, wrapped in an atmosphere thicker than Earth's. On Titan, lakes and rivers flow across the surface. Yet the liquid is not water. It is methane. Rain falls from orange clouds, carving valleys and shorelines in a world that is both alien and deeply familiar. Dr. Sarah Hurst once said, "Titan is the closest thing we have to an Earth that grew up differently." Every time I imagine those methane seas, rippling in a golden twilight, I feel a curious peace, the realization that nature does not limit itself to one formula for beauty. Titan teaches us that a world does not need water to have weather, does not need blue skies to have poetry. And then there is Pluto, a world once dismissed as too small, too distant, too cold to be interesting. until the New Horizons mission showed us a heart-shaped glacier, mountains of water ice, and the possibility of a hidden ocean beneath its frozen crust. Dr. Alan Stern said, "Pluto surprised us because Pluto is alive." That line stays with me, because even a tiny world at the edge of the sun's light can hold warmth, complexity, and movement. Pluto is a reminder that remoteness is not emptiness, that the quietest places may hold the most profound secrets. If Pluto hints at hidden oceans, Mercury reveals a different kind of mystery. Mercury's core is far larger than scientists once believed, taking up more than half the planet's volume. Dr. Louise Proctor once explained, "Mercury is a world that kept its heart hot and oversized." There is something poetic in that image, a tiny planet hugging an enormous core, a world shaped not by abundance, but by loss. Some theories suggest Mercury was once larger, until violent impacts stripped away its outer layers. And yet, Mercury endures, orbiting the Sun with a resilience that feels almost defiant. It teaches us that identity is not always measured by what remains intact. Sometimes it is measured by what survives. Scattered between the planets are bodies even stranger: the rubble pile asteroids. These are not solid rocks, but loose collections of dust, ice, boulders, and fragments held together not by strength, but by gravity's gentle hand. Dr. Dante Loretta from the OSIRIS-REx mission said, "A rubble pile asteroid is a memory held together by gravity." I often return to that phrase, because these fragile worlds are cosmic survivors, pieces of ancient collisions, drifting through space, not rigid but resilient in their own soft way. They remind us that stability does not always require solidity. Things loosely held can still endure. And then, there are the moons born from catastrophe. Earth's own moon is one of them, born from a collision so violent it reshaped both worlds forever. Yet from that chaos came the tides, the rhythms of the oceans, the stabilizing presence that allowed life to flourish. Dr. Robin Canup once said, "Without the great impact, Earth might never have become Earth." To me, that truth glows with something almost spiritual. Sometimes devastation is not the end, but the beginning of a new balance, a new harmony. And finally, in all the solar system, only Earth holds water in all three states: solid, liquid, and gas. We take this miracle for granted, yet it is the delicate balance of pressure, temperature, sunlight, and chemistry that allows oceans to flow, clouds to gather, ice to preserve whole mountain ranges. Carl Sagan once said, "Earth is a blue dot, shimmering with the only oceans we know." And each time I look at Earth's water, spinning in currents and waves, steaming into clouds, freezing into glittering caps, I feel a gratitude that words cannot fully hold. When I bring all these truths together, Titan's methane rivers, Pluto's hidden sea, Mercury's massive heart, rubble pile, asteroids drifting like fragile memories, moons shaped by ancient violence, and Earth's threefold water miracle, I begin to hear a pattern, a soft message running beneath everything. The universe does not follow one script. Beauty is not singular. Worlds evolve in ways we could never predict. Titan teaches us that strangeness can be serene. Pluto teaches us that distance does not erase depth. Mercury teaches us that wounds may reveal truth. Asteroids teach us that fragility is not failure. Giant impact moons teach us that chaos can produce clarity. Earth teaches us that balance is the rarest wonder of all. These are not just facts. They are meditations. They are NASA science for sleep. Truths wrapped in a gentle glow. And as I let these thoughts move through me, slow as drifting clouds, soft as distant starlight, I feel that familiar peace return. A reminder that the universe is far more imaginative than fear suggests, far more tender than emptiness implies. May these strange worlds remind you tonight that your path, too, can be unusual and still beautiful. That your heart, too, can remain oversized after storms. That your oceans, too, can shift states and still be whole. And as you drift into rest, may the cosmos cradle you gently, the way it cradles every strange, wonderful, extraordinary world it has ever made. Asterisk, asterisk. In the quiet tapestry of the solar system, there are worlds that shift and worlds that sleep. And every one of them tells a story about how planets and moons breathe through geology, through weather, through magnetic whispers. These are the final threads of our relaxing astronomy documentary, the softest chapter, where the universe invites us not to marvel at explosions or storms, but to listen for the subtler movements that shape entire worlds. Some moons are not silent. Beneath their icy skins they churn with volcanic fire, or liquid oceans that rise and fall like tides trapped under frost. Enceladus trembles with cryovolcanoes. Europa shifts with an ocean that presses against its crust. Io erupts endlessly, reshaping its landscape faster than humans can understand. Dr. Linda Spilker from NASA once said, "Moons can be as alive as planets, if you know how to listen." And I have always loved that quote, because it reminds me that life in the universe does not always mean organisms. Sometimes life simply means motion, heat, energy. the quiet pulse of a world refusing to freeze completely. But even as some worlds breathe with hidden warmth, others lose their atmospheres to the vastness of space. Mars, once wrapped in a thick atmosphere that may have sheltered rivers, now watches its air escape, molecule by molecule, carried off by the solar wind. Pluto's thin atmosphere appears and vanishes like a sigh. Mercury's exosphere is not even an atmosphere at all, just a whisper of atoms fleeing into the dark. Dr. Bruce Jakosky said, "An atmosphere is a promise a planet has to keep every day. And some worlds simply cannot keep that promise. Not forever." Far more dangerous is the invisible radiation trapped around Jupiter. A storm of charged particles so intense that a human being would not survive even moments in its presence. The great planet looks serene from afar, marbled with clouds, storm bands, auroras. Yet its radiation belts roar with silent violence. Dr. Heidi Hammel once said, "Jupiter protects us and threatens us at the same time." About that, I often think, how something so breathtaking can also be so dangerous. A reminder that beauty in the universe is not always gentle, but it is always honest. And then there is Earth, our blue home, wrapped in a magnetic field that shields us from the sun's relentless wind. Without this field, radiation would strip away the atmosphere, oceans would vanish, and life as we know it could not survive. Carl Sagan once said, "The magnetic field is Earth's invisible guardian." And sometimes, I think about how rare it is to live on a world where the invisible works so faithfully, protecting every breath we take. Beyond Earth, our moon sits silently, untouched by wind or water. Its surface has not changed in billions of years. Footprints remain where astronauts left them. Dust rests where meteorites last disturbed it. Dr. James Head once said, "The moon is a museum without a curator. A place where time does not pass in the same way, where memories cannot fade because nothing ever moves enough to erase them." And then there is Mars. Although its atmosphere is thin, its axis tilts much like Earth's, giving rise to seasons that change the color of its sky, the sweep of its winds, the growth and retreat of its polar frost. Mars turns toward and away from the sun in a familiar rhythm, a cosmic cousin tracing its own cold imitation of spring and autumn. Dr. Michael Mallon once said, "Mars has all the poetry of seasons, without the warmth." And I have always felt the truth in that, because Mars is a reminder that resemblance does not guarantee comfort. Sometimes a world can look familiar and still be profoundly lonely. As we explore the atmospheres of other planets, we begin to see how different they truly are. Venus, with its crushing pressure and boiling clouds. Jupiter, with its banded storms rolling endlessly. Saturn, with its delicate hazes and golden glow. Titan, with its orange methane sky. Neptune, with winds faster than sound, slicing across ice-blue horizons. Each atmosphere is a personality, a mood, a history written in molecules. Dr. Amy Simon once said, "To study an atmosphere is to study a soul." And perhaps that is why planetary science feels so emotional to me. Because every world carries its own breath, its own heartbeat, its own quiet way of moving through time. When I bring all these pieces together, moons trembling with hidden heat, atmospheres escaping into the void, radiation belts roaring silently, magnetic fields guarding fragile surfaces, ancient moons frozen in place, and planets shifting through seasons of cold and dust. I begin to feel a larger truth rising like a dawn over the horizon. The universe is not static. Everything moves. Everything changes. Everything breathes in its own way. A moon can be alive beneath ice. A planet can lose its air to the dark. A magnetic field can be a shield. A storm can last for ages. A season can bloom on another world. And the lesson I hear in all of this is simple. Stillness is rare. And life, even in its quietest forms, is movement. These truths are not just science. They are meditations. They belong in the final chapter of any relaxing astronomy documentary. And as you breathe with them, slowly, gently, like drifting through the soft dark between stars, may they remind you that change is the universe's native language. That protection often comes from forces you cannot see. That endurance can be quiet. That beauty does not require motion. But meaning often does. And tonight, as you drift towards sleep, may the solar system cradle you the way gravity cradles every moon, every orbit, every breath of atmosphere still clinging to a lonely world.